So I guess you could consider this video as sort of a part 2 to my last video. It's on the screen right now. Hey, look at that. There's even a card right on the top hand screen. So you should definitely watch that if you haven't. Now, in that video, I was talking about why it was awesome growing up in the early 2000s, mainly due to the shows that were airing on TV at the time. In that video, I briefly touched on the fact that a lot of what Nickelodeon's turned into now is trash. And then Victorious, and that was probably the last, like, good Nickelodeon show. And then since then, it's just turned to absolute shit. And I thought, why not do a bit of a video talking about sort of the rise and fall of Nickelodeon? How it went from greatness to this. I'm obviously not going to touch on every single show because I didn't watch every single show. There are some really popular shows that aired on Nickelodeon that I didn't even watch. So shows like Unfabulous, Just Jordan, The Naked Brothers Band, True Jackson VP, and Kenan and Kel, I'm not really going to be able to talk too much about because I didn't actually watch them. So I kind of want to go through a little bit of the history of it because Nickelodeon's been around for a very long time. It was launched in December 1977. For any of you that didn't know, and it was actually called Pinwheel.
What the fuck is this?
And then he just turned it to Nickelodeon a year later, so I don't know why. Even some of the animated shows that have still been running for like the past almost 20 years, like SpongeBob, they're just so bland now and dumbed down. In fact, I could talk a lot about how the shows have been completely dumbed down for this younger audience, which is kind of insulting when you think about it because kids aren't that stupid. I mean, yes, they are. But honestly, a lot of the original programming that was put on Nickelodeon around the time I was growing up, you don't really notice a lot of the more serious themes. I say serious themes, but there are some shows that did lean towards that, and Nickelodeon kind of took chances with that, and they don't bother with doing that anymore. It's always just about the next wacky skit or dumb joke. When you compare it to something like, okay, for example, I've just been binging a lot of old Nickelodeon shows, and the last one I just finished was all 4 seasons of Zoe 101 within 3 days. Thank you, Amazon Prime. And there's one episode, I believe it's in season 3, I'm not exactly too sure, but there's one episode where Chase is expecting his grandmother to visit him. Anyway, at the end of the episode, it's actually revealed that Chase's grandmother actually died, and it hits you kind of like a ton of bricks, especially for a kid's show, because you're watching it and you're thinking, wow, they actually like explored something like this for a show that was aimed at children. When Zoe actually goes up to see Chase, he breaks down. In fact, there's actually a lot of emotional moments like that in Zoe 101. Like, you just had a lot of shows that would actually go into places like this, and it's just kind of sad that you see what they put on now, and it's just noise.
Hey guys, good morning to every single Steven Edwards out. This is Donald, everyone. How's it going today, guys? Good. So glad to hear that.
Some of the most popular original animated shows that out of Nickelodeon were actually started around the early to mid 90s. So Rugrats, Hey Arnold, The Wild Thornberrys, stuff like that. There was an animated show called Rocket Power, and this was actually, still is, one of my favorite shows ever put on Nickelodeon. But this was a show about a group of kids that were really into extreme sports. So they would do shit like snowboard down a mountain and go surfing and skateboarding and rollerblading and all that type of shit. But then obviously, like Nickelodeon does, they kind of fuck up a lot of the stuff, and then they really dumb down the shows, especially the animated shows. We got Fanboy and Chum Chum in late 2009. There was Planet Sheen, which actually lasted about 2 or 3 years. That was a spin-off to Jimmy Neutron, which was terrible. And then you've got Sanjay and Craig.
All right, let's see here.
And obviously, I kind of went through a lot of the live-action shows the most because those are the ones I was personally the most interested in. So a lot of people can agree with me. These shows are trash. They literally just are background noise. There is no care really put into the writing of any of these shows. Granted, maybe there's some people like actually kind of like them, and I'm not just talking about kids. I don't know. I don't really see how, though. They're just not well written, or they don't have nearly as much effort put into them, or the writing, or the acting, or anything. A lot of these shows don't really last that long. I mean, most Nickelodeon live action shows don't last that long. I think they last about 3-4 years max. It's really the animated shows that stay on the longest. SpongeBob's on its 11th fucking season now. That's been going. SpongeBob actually first aired before I was even born. Think of it like that. It aired 7 months before I was even born. That's quite fucking scary. People can agree though, nobody wants SpongeBob to leave Nickelodeon because SpongeBob's been the mascot for Nickelodeon for like the last almost 20 years. The name Dan Schneider may ring a bell to any of you that watched any early Nickelodeon show, because this man right here, this is the man that made 90% of your childhoods. This man right here. I'm not really gonna go into a lot of the stuff about Dan Schneider because I don't want to talk about it because it's weird. All I want to talk about is that Dan Schneider is the man that really made the greatest Nickelodeon shows that ever aired on Nickelodeon. Well, at least the earlier ones, because he did make Henry Danger and Game Shakers and they were trash. But he helped write The Amanda Show. He also helped write Keenan and Kel, I believe, and another show called All That in the 90s. But then he also went on to not only write but also create some of our favorite childhood shows like Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious. But he actually isn't a part of Nickelodeon anymore. They fired him after like over 20 years because of these things that were being said about him, which I don't exactly blame the network for. I mean, Dan Schneider didn't make every single show that was on Nickelodeon, obviously. He didn't have anything to do with Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, which was one of my favorite shows of all time growing up. He didn't have anything to do with the Naked Brothers Band. I'm pretty sure he didn't have anything to do with the True Jackson VP. And he didn't have anything to do with Big Time Rush. So he wasn't involved with every single project. He just made some of the more popular shows. I think a lot of the reason why most people have a problem with what Nickelodeon are doing now is just most people are probably around my age or a little bit older, because like I said, we grew up with these shows that actually had a lot of effort put into the writing of these shows that as a kid you don't really catch on to any of these themes, but going back and rewatching them you can tell they actually really tried to put more weight on a children's show, and that's awesome. And they don't do that anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just trapped in the past and I really just want to build a time machine and go back to the year 2006 at least for one day and just experience all that again. It's not like Nickelodeon's ever going to go anywhere. It's been on for 40 years now. Or Cartoon Network or Disney Channel. They're not going anywhere. Regardless if the online medium of entertainment has kind of pretty much completely taken over mainstream TV, because it has. Anyway, that was sort of my little rant thoughts video. I just had these thoughts. Honestly, do you even want to know where most of these ideas pop into my brain to just start making these videos? It's like at 3 in the morning when I'm not able to sleep and I'm trying to. So I've been sitting here for the last 5 minutes trying to think of a really unfunny joke to tell at the end of this video, and I don't even have that. So here's a video of Crazy Steve being Crazy Steve from Drake and Josh. Bye.
Somebody's gonna be an organ donor before their 17th birthday, Josh! Nickel!
And tell it like it is, and now you gotta compete. Show me bring it back down. They think it's a game right now, but it ain't the same right now. Know my name right now, back where I came from now. We gon' live it up till we bring it back down. They think it's a game right now, but it ain't the same.